Greetings, brothers and sisters. Let's start this off with a party here. One of my viewers sent me something great to add on to this Lawrence O'Donnell hammering meme.
Demanding to know, where's Nancy?
Stop the hammering out there. Who's got a hammer? Where is it?
I don't know.
Where's the hammer? Is it on the... Go up on the other floor. Somebody go up there and stop the hammering. Stop the hammering. Call fuck Griffin. I don't care who the fuck to call. Stop the hammering. Empty out the goddamn control room and find out where this is going on. It's either there or out there somewhere. Out of control. Jesus Christ. Crazy sound coming in my ear. This stupid hammering. I told you why I wanted those words cut. It just sucks. It sucks to be out here with this out of control Any thing can come into my ear at any moment. These things. How do you say this guy's last name?
Demanding to know, where's Nancy?
Greetings, brothers and sisters. Got a kind of epic voiceover to do in a moment. I'm going to do a brief introduction to do with the list, Jeffrey Epstein's list. And, then I want to do this brief introduction. Got Anderson Cooper drunk, and there's the guy from Amazon, Jeffrey Bezos, admits that truth is not, what he's all about. And people in general, he has this take on it. But let's start here. There was this controversy that happened with Jimmy Kimmel. And I saw with Stephen A. Smith, he said Aaron Rodgers owes Jimmy Kimmel an apology. And Stephen A. Smith talks about being in the Disney family now with this guy, Pat McAfee, and we'll show you this clip in a second. Dear Boop Hole, for the record, I've not met, flown, or visited, or had any contact whatsoever with Epstein, nor will you find my name on any list other than the clearly phony nonsense that soft-brained wackos like yourself can't seem to distinguish from reality. Your reckless words put my family in danger. Keep it up and we will debate the facts further in court. Now, this is just a little boop move on Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel's made fun of people and generated hate towards people as a comedian. He's mocked people. Of course, was in blackface twice. And when that controversy came out, Jimmy Kimmel went on vacation for 3 months and came back, and it was all forgotten, even though he should have been canceled. He went on blackface. He dressed up as Oprah Winfrey once. He dressed up as Karl Malone and mocked Karl Malone's, how Karl Malone talked in a very derogatory, racist way. And on top of that, Jimmy Kimmel had the Man Show where he was very sexually, there was a time where he was pretending to hump a woman from behind. There was I had this memes and things I've shown in other videos. I'm not going to cover that here because I have more important things to do, but I've covered that in the past, right? And the Man Show was a very misogynistic show, and now he panders to these people, these liberal women and feminists. But there was a time where he was, he did things that, other people have been canceled for, multiple things, right? And after all that behavior, he's threatened to sue Aaron Rodgers for a joke. Here's what Aaron Rodgers said, and it's,
Mm-hmm. Bring it up, Foxy, or somebody back there.
Seats on it.
Bring up Super Bowl 58.
You'll see it.
The emblem. Put it on the screen. And then bring up 57 and 56.
Does that have something to do with the Epstein list that came out?
Feels like.
That's supposed to be coming out soon.
Look, this guy's been waiting in his wine cellar.
Yeah.
I've been waiting in my wine cellar for this thing.
A lot of people, including Jimmy Kimmel, are really hoping that doesn't.
All right. Obviously, a clip from this particular program was run on Jimmy Kimmel's show whenever Aaron brought up the list, and then Jimmy mocked him for it. Aaron has not forgotten about that, but here we are.
Yeah, Jimmy Kimmel mocked the truthers and Aaron Rodgers after doing things that Jimmy Kimmel should be canceled for. And now he wants to litigate this thing, right? Like, and Aaron Rodgers didn't say you were on the list. He said you didn't want to see the list come out. And I'm going to get into the list just briefly here because I have a whole thing to say about it. It's, to me, a non-event. Just like everything else. I mean, it's an event, but it's, nothing's going to happen. But then Stephen A. Smith, a video was recommended to me by YouTube, and he was saying Aaron Rodgers should apologize for this. And he talked about Pat McAfee being a part of the Disney family now. ESPN Disney, and all these people mandatorily had to get the bloop. Kyrie Irving returned to basketball, and a bunch of rabbis went to Utah. I guess maybe they were in Utah, I don't know. And they were holding up signs, and the Utah Jazz told them to put their signs away because Kyrie Irving went and confronted them. Kyrie Irving had been hurt for like 10 games. Like all this weird stuff, right? But Jimmy Kimmel can mock truthers and say all these things, but, Aaron Rodgers suggested he was on the list, and he whined like a little boop, and it's threatening litigation, which he's not going to win because Aaron Rodgers didn't say he was on the list, said the guy didn't want the list to come out. And based in his previous comments and mocking of Aaron Rodgers, that's probably the case, right? But all these Disney people, it's okay for Stephen A. Smith that Jimmy Kimmel mocked black people, but he's going to whine about Aaron Rodgers mocking Jimmy Kimmel because they're part of this Disney cabal, right? Let's watch the end of this here.
Sitting right in front of that nice bottle of scotch. What do you say? I'm waiting to celebrate something.
Oh, yeah. Something
He's been waiting
That's
for
the one.
You've been waiting for
Hey, I'll tell you what, if that list comes out, I definitely will be popping some sort of bottle.
Hey, you've been calling for it for a few years now. Anyone else notice this? Oh.
My God.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They've known.
The scratch.
They've known for years.
Like I'm saying, that 59 better be jet green. That's all I'm saying.
Interesting. Well, unless it's Colts blue. Remember, we got Anthony Richardson coming.
Could
Yeah.
be. Patriots blue might be there, too.
Anyways, not sure what that's about. Some kind of other conspiracy here. Let's go to the bill here. Let's go to this. Okay, I see what he's talking about here. I thought this had to do with the bloop, but really it's he's hinting that football's rigged, right? Aaron Rodgers. You can see that has the Bengals colored on top, and the top graphic and the top logo, and the LA Rams on the bottom, right? The sort of orange and black, and then the yellow below it, right? And then the Chiefs color of red and the Eagles color of green on the top and below. So now he's saying this one looks like it's purple and red. So he's surmising that it would be the two top teams, the 49ers and the Ravens, because he's hinting that this is actually rigged, that these logos are already out ahead of time indicating the teams that are going to be in the Super Bowl. So, that's a whole nother thing there. So I told my chiropractor about this. My chiropractor brought up the list. He's kind of a truther. I said, yeah, Jeffrey Epstein had a picture of Bill Clinton. This is a dress that Hillary wore. And this, he came into Jeffrey Epstein's, living room, and there was this picture. And, of course, now the big name that's come out, which we all knew about, was Bill Clinton flew on it, they had a relationship. One of my viewers sent me a Instagram message saying she believed that Jeffrey Epstein is a Mossad. I might have, thought that myself. I might have mentioned that myself as a possibility in previous videos, that he could possibly be Mossad and he had info on all these people. I don't know. The thing is, that's completely possible. But the issue here for me is that nothing's going to happen. I'm in the stage of I used to care about stuff like this, and I don't. Because nothing's going to happen. It'll go around the truth community, and there'll be all these discoveries. And, there's a fake list that came out, the truthers put out. And it put people's names on it. It wasn't truthers. It was, these QBs, right? These QB morons. And they floated a list out that wasn't a true list. And, I mean, it's not cool to put people's names on lists like that if they weren't actually in a relationship with him, right? The thing with Aaron Rodgers and Jimmy Kimmel is something different. That's like whatever. But, to put out a list and say it's a real list when it isn't a real list, like a flight log. It was, the flight log, the fake flight log that went around. You can't do stuff like that. Like you can't, be a truther and do things like that. You tell the truth. But even in that, nothing's going to happen. There's no consequences for being associated with Jeffrey Epstein. Nothing's going to happen. And whatever he was or wasn't, it's not, whether he committed. And, Stephen A. Smith was going with the official story, because he's a Disney, he's a Disney show, right? But, Disney is like, one of the biggest nightmare companies out there. But, in all of this, none of it matters, right? Because nothing's going to come of it. Let me switch over to my voiceover here. Everything changes when you realize the system can't be saved. And it shouldn't be saved. It's a bad system. And we're 100% dependent on it, so there's that, or whatever level we're dependent on it. Some of us could shift and, become self-sufficient in some other way. At least build a community, a village, whatever. Pockets of the future, that's what pockets of the future means. Being able to live, especially connecting to God internally and living in a different way and building a system based in divine laws and principles and not in this, economic, this economic debacle, this, the debt-based deception. I watched Bill Burr's Netflix show, Old Dads. And Bill Burr's, kind of funny in his way. He's got, he's been semi, truther adjacent, but he's pretty adamant about, he's kind of a gatekeeper in a way. But he made this movie where he plays an old dad, and he's dealing with all the woke liberal people in California, all these new young parents who believe in this stuff, and, his job. And it's kind of interesting, kind of funny. It's not a great movie. There's some funny bits, but it's a good, maybe exaggeration of some of these ways that these young people are in terms of their orientation to life. And it's, again, he's truther adjacent, but like kind of a gatekeeper. But whether you're a truther, whether you're a woke person, whether you're, hyper liberal or hyper conservative or whatever your point of view is, if you live in America or Europe or you live in the rich section of the country, the part of the country, a third world country, a poor country, there's rich people, right? There's rich people over the world. And it's the minority. Like, you think that most people live like we do in America, but they don't. And, even Europe, they don't have some of the things we have here. But there's rich people everywhere, and, but it's the minority of people. It's certainly less than 1 billion people. So you got 6 billion people who are living in poverty. Of course, half the world lives lives below $2 a day. Their income is $2 a day or less, and 1/3 of the people it's $1 a day and less. So you understand the poverty here. And I've seen these impoverished people in India. Of course, we see homeless people in America. Kind of not. It's not great for them, but it's not as bad as you see when you see this way people are living in these countries, right? Billions of people living in abject poverty. And to have the kind of lifestyle you have, all of us have, whether you're, whatever your beliefs are, doesn't matter whether you're a truther or you're, the ultimate sheeple. The fact of the matter is, we live in an abusive system that has to abuse the earth, has to go against God's laws and principles, and has to extract resources from impoverished people all around the world and do damage in every possible way to maintain our current existence the way it is, our lifestyle. And there isn't a way, currently for that to be, a way that we could harmonize and be symbiotic with nature in the way we extract resources and also uplift all the people around us so we all had the same lifestyle. That system doesn't exist. That system where we could all have the lifestyle that we enjoy as richer people, who live in America. Even poor people in America have, running water and heat and things. Maybe they can't pay the bills and they go through a lot of stress. Their maybe a little bit hungry sometimes or whatever, but it's a lot better than what people suffer in other parts of the world. And even, parts of America and parts of the, so-called developed world. But it's not for everybody. And it's an evil system that has to do evil things to keep our lifestyle going. And so all of us benefit from the evil that's being done by the CIA and the intelligence communities all around the world. And the economic, terrorists, the bankers and people, the sorcerers that have to keep the economy going. We all benefit from all of that, right? So if something like Epstein's list comes out, there's no way to, make the thing right, because making the thing right would be to take down the entire system of privilege and these things, right? The reason you have rich people is because you have poor people. Now, there are systems in place like communism, these other systems that are supposed to be about equity, that would be across the board. And there's different economic systems, but none of those systems work with a monetary system and a desire for material privileges, right? And a disconnect from spirituality. And when there's selfishness and competition, which is rampant, and egoism, and people are disconnected from God and their family and nature, then you never could have a good system. And so our whole system is predicated on materialism and an ever-growing economy and an idea of a pursuit of happiness and pleasures and privileges as the ultimate to a good life. And that's not true, because the people who are the richest and most powerful are the most miserable. And they do deviant, decadent stuff. But if you take down that group of people, the system collapses, because they're the people willing to do the evil things. And they're evil. I mean, evil stuff is being done every day to keep this system going. And when you start finding out about a little bit of it, you're like, oh my God, this is horrible. We got to change it. But then you realize it's not, some deep state or some, small portion of the system that's evil. It's the whole system. And it's not that hard to figure out. But most people don't want to see it because they want to, put the evil in a little box and call it, Trump, or call it Biden, or call it Republicans, or call it Democrats, or call it, Israel, or call it, the Palestinians, or call it the Arabs, or call it the Christians, or, whatever worldview that they can look at. This group of people is evil, and we're the good guys, and they're the bad guys. Everybody's lying. They're lying to themselves that you're a good guy and they're a bad guy. You might be a better person than them. Most of us are, but we're not willing to do what they're willing to do to keep our system going, right? We're not willing to do their job. I'm not willing to take their job and do the evil things they have to do to keep this system going. And if you didn't do those evil things, the system would collapse. It's all based in deception and lies and these things. And people don't want the truth. Even truthers don't want the truth. In fact, truthers are, in many ways, more arrogant and less honest than the normal people, who at least are admitting that they are complicit by their by sticking their head in the sand and saying, I don't want to know about it. They're at least admitting they don't want to know about it. Where truthers think they want to know about it, but they don't, right? I just started uploading it now. Hopefully I can get it uploaded today, depending on how fast the internet's going. It doesn't seem to be going very fast this morning. So we'll see. It's a long video, maybe 3 or 4 hours. Probably 4. But anyways, that is significant to what I'm going to talk about here, the kind of partner videos, in the sense that, I talk about this in a different way on a spiritual level. And I'll get a little bit into the spiritual here, but mostly it's about just being honest with yourself. And I've known this a lot. I've known this for a long time in terms of the negative qualities that I have personally, but not in a way that I would beat myself up over it. But, when I was in my 20s and I started to see that, I had issues socially where I would say things to hurt people's feelings, and, I would either be drunk or playing sports, and, I'd be all hyped up on adrenaline, and, things would come out, or even just not, I could be sober. And I would say things, and it would hurt people's feelings, and I had no idea why. But I could feel it, like I could feel it in my own system. Of course, when I started doing the Sajmarg meditation, my heart became more sensitive. I could feel it even stronger, right? When I would say something, I could feel the pain I caused somebody else's heart, or hurting their feelings, and I could read their expressions and things. But growing up in the family I did and hanging out with the people I did, who were kind of rougher and more, we would make fun of each other. It really didn't bother me so much. Like sometimes my feelings would get hurt, but very seldomly. Based in the idea that I didn't think I was great or perfect. People have internalized self-talk where they build themselves up and. But I didn't, think any of these things. Like I kind of accepted how I was, right? And I have limitations, and like I understand those limitations. I understand the things I don't do very well. But I've said this recently, like the difference between me and most truthers and other people on the internet is like I know why people don't like me, or people in public life or whatever. I don't make an effort to make people like me. Like I don't reach out to people. I'm not a good friend in the sense of, I'm loyal and I'll do things for people, but I'm just, I don't make an effort, right? Especially now, I'm less and less into a social existence. And so, like in a conversation, I don't do the things to, carry a conversation. And if I don't want to talk to somebody, which is almost most people, I have no interest in hearing what they have to say. Like I just don't want to listen to them because, I'm even truthers to some extent, but certainly people aren't truthers. And so, I'm not good at that small talk or any of these things. And, fake laughing at people's bad jokes and, doing the things you need to do to be liked, right? And I'm not peppy or, a cheerleader. I'm not, any of these things, right? I'm not a good leader. I don't have these types of skills. I don't, I can say nice things to people if they're sincere and honest. If I see something good and I could build somebody up and I see that they need building up, I can say those things to them, right? I can be affectionate and, I can be, all these things. I mean, certainly with my wife and things like this. But, for the most part, I don't make an effort, right? And then I'll say things that eventually are going to rub people the wrong way because I don't have so much of a filter, especially if I've gotten older, but even when I was young. I went to India a long time ago and I was just, talking like I talk here. I wasn't so much a truther back then, but still I was, kind of an a-hole. And there were a lot of Europeans and Russians who didn't like Americans anyway, right? And they seen me as a, an arrogant American who just, I acted different than they thought was appropriate based in their culture. And a lot of people didn't like me there. This is the ashram from the meditation I do. And there are a lot of people from all over the world. And they saw me as a prototypical American. And, really wasn't the case because I'm not, I'm not a yay, rah, rah, patriotic American. And, I don't believe, I'm an outsider and I don't fit in here. But I certainly had the American arrogance and some of these other things that rub people the wrong way. And I could see it in them and I could understand their culture and I saw their point of view. And I didn't care. Like, I didn't care. Because it was who I was, right? And, I wasn't, I saw their, their European arrogance and their prejudice and, they're kind of snobby, these different European people and, these different people from different countries, right? And, they had their own prejudice and that was on them, right? I mean, whether I was likable or not had nothing to do with it. Like, they weren't likable themselves and they weren't being honest about their own deal, right? But in terms of all of this, in the Sajmark tradition, we're supposed to build our character, the meditation I do. The master of the system says that, the master is there to help you spiritually, but building and working on your character is your job and duty, and you're 100% supposed to do it, right? And I wrote to the third master of the system talking about character building, and, I was working on it. He wrote back saying, I'll hope you work on this assiduously. And I read that, and I looked up the word assiduously, and I realized I hadn't done anything assiduously in my life. But, I've worked on my character, but not, assiduously. It says here, assiduous, I think I knew the word already. Showing great care and perseverance. I guess I've done that, I've certainly persevered, and, I'm not a detailed perfectionistic person, though, right? But I give things a good, college try or whatever. but I've worked on my character over the years. And the thing about working on your character, you realize, and I realized this years and years ago, that it doesn't grade on a curve. That when you're working on yourself spiritually and you're working to become a better person, that's not really, better person is like, misunderstood. It's acting fake kind or fake nice or pretending to be whatever. That's not being a good person. Being a good person is connecting to your soul, finding out your soul's path, and doing what you came here to do, and figuring out what you're supposed to do and do it. And very few people are able to do that, and I've done it to a certain extent here, in various fields of whatever, things that I've been able to achieve personally, with this YouTube channel and building homesteads and some of the other things I've done, to evolve, personally. But, you have to be aware that it doesn't grade on a curve. That whatever you're doing spiritually and whatever you're doing on your own personal growth, doesn't matter that you're better than other people. It doesn't matter that you're more evolved than them. And, that's something that's totally lacking in the truth community. An understanding that, what you are, what you're doing is for your benefit. And you don't grade it based in what the other people are doing, whether they're good people or bad people or, horrible people or the elite or whatever. Your personal achievements and where you are is between you and God, right? It doesn't matter what everyone else is doing. And being obsessed with other people and, making them, wanting them to go to jail or wanting them to be suffering or, obsessed with the so-called elite, controllers or, all these things in the truth community is fundamentally dishonest. Because there aren't many good people in the truth community. There aren't many people, worth, you have a different perspective, but a lot of times the people in the truth community are worse as people than sheeple, right? More arrogant, more difficult to get along with, self-righteous, right? Thinking they know everything, just being, like I think you're better than a sheeple, and there's an arrogance that goes there. And, you see it with the cubies who aren't really even truthers, and they think they're so much better than everybody. And, look at Marjorie Taylor Greene as a prototypical, type of far right-wing truther, a QB type truther, and, all these people that are just so difficult to, have any kind of a conversation. They're locked in. They think they know things that they don't. And, and making it about like, there's been some big movement and somehow they're on a higher level than the sheeple and everyone else. And they're clearly not, right? Because they're not being honest about the fact that we're all addicted to this system that's bad for us all. And it's bad for the world. And that very few people could even survive the thought of the system collapsing, never mind the actual system collapsing. Like it can't even be a reality that they're willing to entertain in their minds and their system. They're too freaked out. And what I was talking about this morning in my Journey series, which I'm just going to briefly mention here, is that there's a maxim in the, the Sagemark system, maxim number 7, do not be revengeful for the wrongs done by others. Take them as heavenly gifts and be grateful. And what that means is that people create their own internal creation away from their pure divine self, their soul and the divinity that resides within them. They create their egotistical versions of themselves. And this creation becomes arrogant, and it comes with all these impressions and things that have to be removed to bring them back to a pure state. And, people need to be humbled and go through miseries and things as consequences for wrong behavior and wrong attitudes. And so when people who are negative towards you or hate you or, do mean things to you, they are invoking an external application that creates the cleaning that happens internally to your system. And as you go through difficulties, you can often find this after going through a difficulty, you feel purer and better. And especially if you take it with an attitude that you're grateful for it and that it's coming from God. It's not and the people might suck. Like the people, it's easy to hate them. It's easy to blame them. It's easy to say things aren't fair. But when you understand that everything that you're experiencing because you're part of, a divine plan and system is being done for a reason. And these things that are negative to you are there to help you be cleansed and be better and return to your original, pure, innocent, spiritual self, right? And so, along with that understanding, you understand the world as the way it is. And the people who are running the world and evil and greedy and these things, they seem to be more important than you. They're famous, they're rich, they're powerful. And so the idea is that they are more evolved than you. But if you've done that in a previous existence and you learned that that isn't, any value, then you're not going to do that now. You've already done that in some past existence, right? Some previous life. And if you've done that, then you're farther along than they are, because they're at a much more remedial stage where they still think celebrity and wealth and fame and power is going to bring them, that's the goal of life, and it isn't. The goal of life is to find your soul's path and do what your soul and God want you to do and want you to become. Become something of a higher nature and not, be obsessed with your material body or material physical needs and desires and things like this, right? Those are part of your life. You don't neglect those things, the things that are, you have to eat and you have to live and you have to, procreate and you have to be a part of the, system. But also, you need to be doing something to advance spiritually. And the people who are, rich and powerful and famous, they haven't even learned that lesson yet. They're newbies, just like I call QBs. QBs are newbies. And so these people shouldn't be, you think they're higher than you, so you think that you hold them to a higher standard. And they're worse than you, in terms of their personal character and things. But really, they're just much lower people that are, just learning that life isn't about power. And, people come in to their first existence and they have miserable lives, usually in poverty. They're animalistic. They don't have the ability for abstract thinking skills. I mean, this is, the idea of the transmigration of a soul, that what used to be a dog or a cow or something in a previous life, some domesticated animal that's around human beings. And then, they can go the other way where human beings like Jane Goodall and people go out and they get obsessed with animals. I just saw somebody sent me a young woman who identifies as a hawk. I've seen a video on her before, and she talks about she's really a hawk in a human body, and she'll probably be a hawk in her next life because that's all she's focusing on, right? Whereas a dog or a cow or domesticated animals that are serving humans and around humans, you'll see that those animals are smarter. Like a dog is smarter and more sophisticated than a fox or a wolf, because it's benefiting from the higher level consciousness of a human being, right? What I'm saying here is you're on whatever level you're on. And wherever you are, if you're a person who has, had a past existence where you were rich and powerful and now are looking for something more, which is really the only kind of person to be at this point, because there's going to be population reduction, and the places, the human births that are going to happen in the future, the higher developed souls, the higher developed your soul is, those spots will be available for you. If you're a higher developed soul, they're not going to, just because someone's rich and powerful in a previous life, that doesn't mean anything in terms of the divine world and the laws and the structure that bind it. And to help humanity to cast off this, degradation, there has to be a limit on the amount of souls that are here. There's too many human souls here of a lower nature, right? Of a, not necessarily evil, but just not evolved enough to have the ability to connect to God in the way I'm talking about and have the spiritual maturity. And so there's going to be a, limit when there's a population reduction, which everyone knows it's coming, whether they know it or not, it's coming and it's going to be here. Then the higher developed souls, the ones that are wanting to work on themselves spiritually, they will get, I don't want to say is the word, not precedent. They will get, they'll get first dibs on whatever situation that they want, in terms of, and they'll just go down the line, and there won't be room for a lot of these lower developed souls, especially the ones who have, perpetrated evil and have heavy some scars, have heavy, whatever it is, right? And so the world will change just from that alone. Because these people who are now, creating the drama and doing all these things, they're not going to be, able to be a part of the future, right? Be a part of what's coming. And then a new system can be born, when this other system collapses. But up until that point, when this system collapses, it's just going to get worse because it can't do anything else, right? The system that, the more evil it has to do to keep itself going, because it should have collapsed already, because it goes against nature, it goes against the divine order of things. It's only being propped up by it's like too big to fail, too evil to fail, right? It's too big and evil to fail. We're all dependent on it, and people don't have the ability to live without it. And so we're all propping this system up, freaked out that our lifestyle and the way the world is structured is going to be taken away from us. And we can't imagine a world without it. And so that's why there's just a fundamental dishonesty in all of humanity right now. And those of us who can, it sucks to admit to it, but, what are you going to do, right? The truth is there. And if you want to be honest, the whole system's evil, so why are you trying to, but let's put Hillary Clinton in jail. Well, what difference does it make? I'm not saying she shouldn't go to jail, or, Trump shouldn't go to jail, or whatever it is. Like, it doesn't make a difference. None of it's going to save the system. None of it's going to stop, the system from going in the wrong direction. People are weaker and weaker with each generation. Now, you watch this movie I talked about. Bill Burr isn't great as a character, as a person, but he's certainly better than these, this weakened, distorted, unnatural generation of people who are living a life that's based in, some kind of Hollywood morality and some kind of, liberal agenda that doesn't jive with anything, right? As bad as the conservatives were, and, the Christian, coalition and the people that ran the system before who weren't great themselves, Trump wants to bring it back to that, make America great again. They weren't great. They were horrible. But the new generation's worse. And with each generation, we're getting more and more away from the family, more and more away from divinity. Religion's a big part of it. Our religions are corrupt, and they're disconnecting people from God, and teaching them like stuff that makes them not want God or not believe in God. It's having the opposite effect, right? And so people have to evolve past all that, like realize that religion isn't God, that the religion you was taught isn't really anything to do with God at all. You might be mad at your religion, but you're not mad at God because your religion has nothing to do with God. Your religion is an obstacle to finding God and knowing what God is and connecting to God, right? And feeling God's presence within yourself, right? And so all these things are negatives, and they're just going to get worse. And the system's just going to get worse till it collapses. And all of us, don't want to live through the collapse because that's difficult. But it's, inevitable, and the longer it takes, the worse it gets. And the worse the apocalypse will be, and the post-apocalypse apocalypse will be, because of the fact that, it's the longer you prevent taking your consequences, taking your medicine, the worse that the problem is, right? The longer you let the lie go, the worse the lie is, the more effect it has, So the sooner you take your medicine, the better it is. But, we're not taking our medicine. We're avoiding the pain that's going to come with the suffering that's going to come with the systemic collapse, and we're all contributing to that one way or another. We all, are pushing it back and hoping it doesn't happen sooner than later. And so there's consequences for that. And we shouldn't whine about it because, we ourselves are doing that to ourselves and future versions of ourselves and future versions of future generations of humanity. If you're going to be honest, that's what, be honest about that. And then start with all the rest of the stuff. And then you can talk about Jeffrey Epstein or the rest of these things that don't really matter because they're just part of a deviant system that should have collapsed years ago. All right, let's have some fun. Let's go to Anderson Cooper. And so the title of this video is Anderson Cooper Completely Loses It as John Mayer dials in from a cat bar. This is an official CNN video. This is a video that CNN put out the title up there. They only took some clips from New Year's, and they wanted you to see Anderson Cooper losing it. So what happened was they used to get drunk every year except for last year. And they would, act like stupid drunks. They would get really drunk. And they would do New Year's Eve from New York at 12, and then at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Or 12 a.m., whatever it is, Central Time, they would do it from New Orleans with Don Lemons, who would go back to his home in New Orleans, and he'd get really sloppy drunk. And then I think they did one from each of the time zones. I don't know what they did, right? But I knew they at least did those two. And CNN was embarrassed by the behavior of these drunks. So last year, they got rid of them drinking, and it made it like purposeless to watch because the only fun part was them being drunk and them revealing kind of their true selves, and their true selves were weird. They were all weird. And so this year, this other guy, Andy Cohen, lobbied for them to drink again. And so they were doing tequila shots. I think they were told they could only drink so much, but it was enough for Anderson Cooper to lose it. I haven't watched the video yet, but CNN is promising that one of their stars over there, their news guy, is going to lose it on air because he's drunk on New Year's Eve.
Gotta give a
Do you have a
man-
New Year's resolution?
Yes, spend less time on my cell phone, spend less time on my phone in front of my kids. Yeah.
Only 44 minutes away.
Okay, a sneak peek at 2024 from one of my all-time favorite guitarists and singers who is currently performing in Japan. Happens to be a dear friend of mine. We are joined by John Mayer at a cat cafe in Tokyo. John, this doesn't look sanitary, John.
He's got the creepiest, weirdest laugh.
John.
It's, you know what? I believe it
cats
passes all health codes. I think it's just fine. Yes, we are at a cat bar. It's called Cats in the Box in Tokyo, celebrating New Year's. We're already halfway through.
How is this funny? Like, why are you even laughing at it, right? Like, why would that evoke such a weird... This is a guy who's supposed to be delivering the news. He sounds like some kind of broken, twisted, demonic alien, right?
The first day of 2024.
John.
I'm here
So,
with
John,
Shin and
just-
5 other proprietors of the bar.
Talk to me about this bar. You're in the bar, and there are cats
Yes.
everywhere. They are.
Oh, my God. Can you believe it? There's cats in a bar. I never thought you'd see cats in an actual bar around liquor, where there's cats in the bar. That's crazy. This is so funny. I can't contain myself.
Licking each other.
There are cats.
Yes.
Yes, this is a...
And
Yeah. This is a place you can come, enjoy a drink or two, and talk to cats. It's a cat bar. I mean, I don't know
John-
how much more clear I can be about the objective of this place.
John, you are in Tokyo,
I can't see
Japan.
Anderson, but I know exactly what he looks like.
Yes.
Yes,
you
I'm in
do.
Tokyo.
Yes, you do. He's gone. He's off
Yes.
with the fairies here.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is.
Just the shot of the cat's ass in your face is making him delirious. Yeah.
Exactly. And when he saw the cat's ass, he just lost it. That's what they should have said.
He is now. You have, John. Do you have catnip there or cat food that you're giving the cat?
Well, Andy, I got to be honest with you. I thought these were solid treats. This seems to be a paste of some kind that you feed the cats directly from a tube.
Well,
so
now,
it turns
John-
out this is a gelatinous cat paste.
I mean,
Let's go on. This video is 7 minutes 57 seconds. Let's milk as much out of this thing. It's like a one joke thing. It's not funny, right? In Japan, they have cat bars. Okay, that's the strangest thing you've seen in 2023, right?
John,
Like when this laugh is, which is stranger, the cats in a bar or Anderson Cooper's laugh?
I have to ask because do you know the name of that cat? Is there a possibility that we could play one of my favorite games?
Yes.
Called Name That Pussy. Can we come up with a name of one of the cats and then you tell us what the cat's name is?
You might as well try. I know the name of this cat. We've hung out for a little while, so I know the name of
Okay,
this
good.
cat.
So let's try to guess the
Can
name
you guess
of
the
that
name of this cat?
Okay, so I think that cat's name is Calico. What do you think the cat's name is? This is a great game.
I don't know.
Well, guess, sweetie. Trixie?
Okay,
Sweetie, come on, sweetie.
Trixie.
Okay.
Exactly. Give him a name because he's incapable of coming up with his own creative thought. Let's call it Socks. You know.
John, what is the name of that cat? Can you reveal?
This cat's name is Lin Lin.
Wow.
Yeah, it has a Japanese name because it's in Japan. And you came up with Trixie.
Wow, John. You look really
Yeah,
cute with
Lin-Lin.
that
So
cat,
you were-
and I
yeah,
love
you were
it
close.
that you coordinated your outfit. Yeah.
I mean, the shot.
I
the
did.
shot is crazy.
I coordinated my outfit.
Yeah,
It's too much. I can't stand it.
John.
Hold on, it's time to administer more pace to the cats.
You're giving more treats to the cats. John, give us a preview of 2024 because I need
It's
to.
such a fake laugh on top of it. Like he's losing it, but that's not losing it. And why is he finding this fake funny? So he's doing his fake laugh. Let's just go to the end here. See if this. I mean, it's still going on. This is 8 minutes.
I feel like this all speaks for itself. I just want to say, have a very, very happy, peaceful, prosperous 2024. Both you, Andy, and Anderson, and everyone watching. May this be the best year yet. And I send you all my love from Cats in the Box.
Love you so much, John, and tell that Ken Healy in the wide-brimmed hat next to you that I send my regards. Love you, man. Thank you for
I sure
hanging
will.
out
Andy
with us
sends his
tonight,
regards.
dude.
Love you. Love you guys.
Meow.
Thank you so
Meow,
much.
meow.
Thanks, Anderson.
Meow, meow.
Thanks, Andy.
Meow, 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 meow.
Who's my little baby?
Oh my God. All right, so that's where they went with that, right? So there's this guy, Lex Friedman. I watched. He did a pretty good interview with RFK Jr. But he has this strange guy, Jeff Bezos, on, and truth is uncomfortable. That's what the title of this video is.
You have just asked $1 million question. So this is what if I generalize what you're asking, you're talking in general about truth telling.
Yeah.
And we humans are not really truth seeking animals. We are social animals.
Yeah, we are.
So that's his position on the truth. So this guy's a trillionaire, running one of the biggest companies in the world, and one of those most important and influential company that's taking your data and in charge of your Whole Foods, these things, and all these things, and it's the future of the retail business. And he says that his view is people are uncomfortable with the truth, which I kind of was saying in my way, in a different way in the beginning. People want the truth when it isn't about themselves. But people don't want to know the truth about the system. And, I don't think that's what he's referencing here. But, that's his position.
We are.
And, take you back in time 10,000 years and you're in a small village. If you go along to get along, you can survive. You can procreate. If you're the village truth teller, you might get clubbed to death in the middle of the night. Truth.
Exactly. This is what he's going with.
Are often, they don't want to be heard because important truths can be uncomfortable. They can be awkward. They can be.
All right, so that's Jeff Bezos. Make sure you tip your waiters. And speaking of which, I've had this up for a while. Chicago alderman blasts city council refusing to send sanctuary status referendum to voters. Scared of the truth here. Again, I didn't plan it this way. This was sent to me like 2 weeks ago, and I haven't got around to it. But here it is.
All had something up your sleeve. But let me just say that it is a shame. It is a shame that you all are scared. What are you scared of? The truth? Are we scared of the truth here? Are we afraid that the people are going to tell us that we are spending money frivolously in this body? Are we afraid that the people are going to tell us that we are headed in the wrong direction? Are we afraid that the people are going to finally stand up and speak in the city of Chicago that they're saying that this ship is headed in the wrong direction? Why are we afraid to let the people speak? That's all this question is asking, is to let the people have a say in what's going on in this body.
So, interesting that this ended up being here. I didn't plan it this way when I talked about the truther community, and then I had the Jeff Bezos thing up for about 4 or 5 days. I've had this up for like 10 days or so, or whatever it was. I forgot all about this. I just got to other things, but it's all coming out truth here.
We're afraid of the truth. Crime is running rampant. Our schools are in trouble. We're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on people that don't even pay taxes in this city. Now, I'm all for taking care of people. I get it. I am sympathetic as well. However, I'm more sympathetic for the people in my community that have been paying taxes their entire life, can't get a furnace, can't get a roof, can't get a hot water heater, can't get a back porch, and my seniors are still starving for resources.
Kaboom.
That's the question we need to be asking our people. When we vote on stuff that is not affecting the people of this city that are suffering day in and day out. That's the only question that we are trying to get to the bottom of. There's no conscionable way we should be voting on hundreds of millions of dollars to just, go to Brighton Park only to have the whole thing blown up.
Okay, so I just want to end this quickly. I got a long comment from a flat earther. And it's everything you expect from a flat earther. And again, this is about behavior, not belief. And I'll tell you why the belief is, I believe the belief is completely ridiculous, but it's not whether you believe. I don't care what people believe. And I've said this before. But this was to a video, like an older video, where I, said something about flat earthers. So dismissing the idea of flat earth, level plane earth, by calling it deviant, you are so above that. No, I'm not. I just did it, right? And I don't remember the video. This is an older video. And even if it was a couple days ago, I wouldn't remember it. And never mind that there are no measurable ratio of curvature anywhere on the earth. So this is, goes on from there, right? The lack of curvature. And so the model doesn't work. And I was just talking about how it takes 365 days, 6 hours, and 9 minutes to circle the sun. And, that's our seasons. And, the whole idea of leap year. I mean, there's all these ways, the time zones, and, the way that the sun moves across the sky, that the flat earth model, the mobile model doesn't work. They don't have a working model. And, it's not flat. Now, you can make a case that it's a simulation. I mean, I believe it's a simulation for sure. I believe in the simulation it's a round earth, that this whole thing's an illusion because our bodies aren't who we are. Our soul is. Physical reality in itself is a three-dimensional physical reality is an illusion. And it's like being in a video game of a different level video game, right? So whatever that means or how that works is somewhat debatable, but, our real essence is our soul. But the Old Testament's horse crap, it's just sucks. The Old Testament, the Bible, it's blasphemy. I've talked about that in the past. And the flat earth model doesn't work. But the reason that I say something, like I mentioned, like if I say anything that's going to indicate the round earth model, I'll get flat earthers who have to speak up. It's not all of them, right? It's, but it's what you're known for. It's like, spamming people, harassing them, talking down to them, being like totally sucky about it. And that's why it's banned on my channel, right? I don't want flat earthers, or at least ones who are verbalizing their opinion about the flat earth here. You have your own channels, you have your own places to go. And it's not here. And it isn't because I care that you believe that. Like, it doesn't, what difference does anything make in terms of beliefs? The system is the system. It's going to collapse at some point. Until that time, it's going to go in the direction it's going. I've talked about in the beginning of the video. Our beliefs aren't really going to, connecting to God directly and doing things to prepare for whatever's going to happen, and, working on one's character. I mean, there's things that are good, like I would hope people would consider doing, and things that I say here. But in terms of people's beliefs, I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. Great. You believe whatever you want. But it's how you are defined as a group. The way that you've behaved, the way that flat earthers have conducted themselves in the truth community and the QBs. You can say the same thing about vegans, right? Like, I have plenty of vegan friends who aren't, rubbing it in your face. But, like, there's beliefs that are very divisive. And between the round earth and the flat earth is very divisive. Vegans thinking murdering animals and eating them is like makes you a bad person. It's hard to be around people when that's what you think, right? It's hard to be around meat eaters. Like, when you think that what they're doing is wrong. If you just want to be healthy and you think the vegan diet's healthier, that's one thing. But if you don't want to, you think that everyone eating meat is a murderous person, it's hard for you to, by definition, everyone who's not a vegan is bad, right? Like, just like everyone who's not a Christian is going to hell. And, the Jewish people are the chosen ones, and, whatever the Muslims believe. Like, these are divisive beliefs. And the flat earth is a very divisive group of people. And, a lot of them are kind of radicalized and really stupid and just unpleasant to be around. That's why I say the things I do about them, because of my experience with you. It isn't because I have a prejudice against the belief. It's because the way that you guys, interact with people sucks. Like, it's not all of you, but the people that have, are the ones that are out there harassing people and being a pain, just like with the QBs. You've defined the whole group, right? You've wrecked it for everyone in the group. And you guys should see that. Like, you can't separate yourself from the brand that's been created by the people in your group. And the spamming, the harassing, the, not admitting you don't have a working model. Admitting that you don't have a working model, that the criteria and the data available about how the time works and how the sun and moon move and how the, whatever it is going on with the earth, you don't have a model that takes that into consideration. Like, you don't have a working model. The idea that the sun and moon are spinning around an unknown celestial object that you don't know about, and you say there's no gravity, but you don't have a solution or explanation for why we fall when we jump out, these things, right? Why things drop. And I know there's this theory about density, but, and so in all that, right? Oh, then one more thing, that all the research and all the energy goes into disproving the round earth model and not coming up with a workable flat earth model. And so with all of that, like, with all the things I've just said, they come in so hard and so righteous, self-righteous, and, just sucky. And that's why, like, people don't like you in the truth community and everywhere else, right? And it's not because every flat earther is a bad person. It's the way that the flat earth community has, branded themselves, and it's been divisive and used against the truth community. And it's a psychological operation, it's some kind of, again, it's being used by the powers that be to diminish the, the truther stuff. And so all of that, right? And the biggest thing that you've got is the Old Testament, which sucks, right? The, a defunct religion and a book that's blasphemous and has human and animal sacrifice and incest and, all kinds of killing people and cutting off their foreskins, like all this weird stuff in it, right? And it has, the God that's presented in the Old Testament, in terms of the Jewish religion is a mean, wrathful God that's you're supposed to be scared of. You're supposed to have a fear of God, and it's not anything like what God really is, right? And if you don't understand that, that's fine. Like you are where you are. I mean, if that's what best you can do, that's the best you can do. But there's more beyond that. And thinking that you're higher than people is wrong. Like it's a low, remedial religion with a, it's a, the best stuff in the The New Testament is just spirituality 101. It's not sophisticated. It doesn't help you connect to God, and there's so much more available for people if they look into, they go beyond their indoctrination, and most people aren't going to do that. So that is what it is, right? And I can't, control any of those things in terms of your beliefs, and I don't want to. Like, everyone has to go on their own path. But your path doesn't lead here if you're going to drop goofy flat earth propaganda, because it's, I've already verbalized my opinion on it, and, right or wrong, it's what I, believe, and this is my channel. And, you can benefit from the other things I say and realize we disagree about this thing and keep your mouth shut about your belief on the flat earth, because I'm over it, right? And so many other people here are over it too, because they've had dealings with you and the QBs. The QBs were a, spillover from the flat earthers, right? A lot of flat earthers became QBs. It's the same type of people, and they've really screwed over the truth community, and you've made it worse, right? You haven't made the truth community or the country or the planet better based in your behaviors and beliefs, right? And so that's why I say the things I do. And, when I say deviant, it's because of that. Anyways, only spirituality will save this world. It's Parvado, definitely born from the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.